#1 sound of the Ontario Hockey League, who led the tournament in save percentage last year at .936, took the quarterfinal loss for Canada as they fell to the Czechs. And Magnus Havlin is back for his 4th World Junior as the head coach of the Swedish national team, and is hoping the 2 games against Canada will battle testable. Dale Hunter returns behind the Canadian bench, guided Canada to a gold medal in the 2020 World Junior Championship in Czechia. We're underway as Carl is back to pick it up, and a centering pass there knocked away from Canada's Brady Martin. Brought back in by Michael Hage, and the Michigan Wolverine star shovels it back in front. Martin was taken down. Livs lost his goal stick. And back is Braden Coots. Or rather, Gavin McKenna picked that back up. McKenna not wearing the full shield, turns 18 on Saturday. So we can go to the half visor for the tournament. As back to pick it up is Keishon Aitchison from Barrie of the OHL. Pass snapped ahead by Zane Perek, who was not a member of last year's team, wasn't invited initially, then was brought to camp late and was cut before Canada played the tournament in Ottawa. And now the play is offside at the Swedish line as Jet Luchenko is brought down. And so much talked about the fact that Canada has been 5th each of the last 2 World Junior Championships, after gold in Halifax and Edmonton, a silver in the tournament in 2021 in the bubble.
It's been feast or famine, the 2 great gold medal games, but of course 2 5th-place finishes and a bit of a rejigging of how Canada wants to put this team together, prioritizing maybe a bit more skill, a bit more aggressiveness.
Canada's program of excellence began in 1982. That's when Canada started setting true national junior teams. Canada has never finished out of the medal 3 straight times during the program of excellence. Luchenko works that ahead, trying to find Liam Greentree with it. Now jumping in is Luchenko, trying to dig it loose. And now back at the point, Keaton Verhoff plays it back in. The 17-year-old is a freshman at North Dakota after a couple of star years of Victoria of the Western Hockey League.
This game would be a good test for Canada. Sweden will be organized, will not just be an easy opponent to try to get their feet wet. They'll be challenged.
Eric Nilsson moves that in for Sweden. His dad, Marcus, former NHL player. And I'll move back across to Victor Johansson. Sweden just 3 returning players, and even more stunning, 8 defensemen on their roster. None of them shoot right.
Feels like the Russian USSR team from the 80s.
Now a race for it. In comes Nilsson, driving wide, tied up there by Jackson Smith. Also plays for Penn State in the NCAA. Now move back in the corner. Kaspar Justabara trying to dig that free. A draft-eligible player for the Swedes. And Reshny slides that back across. The pass was in behind Braden Coots. Now Smith moved off the puck for a moment by Milton Gastrin. And Gastrin digs that free. His centering pass was tipped away by Carter Bear. And Bear, who plays for Everett, the Western League, got knocked down. And then a big hit at the line by Jackson Smith.
Probably would be some nerves early. These are all obviously incredibly accomplished players, but trying to earn a spot or secure a role in your first time together in an actual game, some nerves.
Cameron Reid, who plays here for Kitchener in the Ontario League, slid that ahead, and another chance back in front. Great point blank save by Liv on Sam O'Reilly. Fired back in by Carson Karls. Another draft-eligible defenseman like Verhoff. And lifted back down to the Canadian zone as Karls goes back. Plays with Prince George in the Western League. And now from the point, that shot goes wide from Viggo Gustafsson. Victor Johansson slides it back across the top, and a long point shot taken by Gustafsson, steered away by George. But chipped back out by Eric Van Acker. A late addition to the Canadian camp roster. 26 goals in 26 games for Brantford in the OHL, which has 4 players in the Canadian can. Another big hit, this time by Sam O'Reilly. And it's played back to Leo Salim Melenius, the San Jose second-round pick. Now sliding along the boards, and there's a quick shot there from Martin, turned away, and Brady Martin back on it. Martin slides that rink wide to Verhoff. Keaton Verhoff had to roll off his stick, now trying to gather it back up, and it's brought back up by Nilsson. Lead pass for Victor Eklund. Eklund in, shoots. George makes a stop on that. Here's Nilsson back on it, erased there by Verhoff. Another big hit, this time by Martin.
That's already a couple for Martin in this game.
He spilled Eklund. One of 3 returnees for the Swedes on this roster. And by the way, not playing for Sweden this evening, Ivar Stenberg, who's projected to be a top 3, top 2, maybe top 1 pick in the upcoming NHL draft.
And there's some curious people wanted to see Kevin McKenna on the ice at the same time tonight.
We'll likely see Stenberg on Saturday in London. Not sure we'll see McKenna, though. McKenna hasn't played since November 22nd. That's when Penn State played his last game. Caleb Deneray plays that back to Reed at the point. That shot deflected wide by Greentree. Pivoting back is Felix Orquist. Chips it back down to the Canadian zone, and Wilson Bjork goes after it. Wilson, his younger brother Viggo, in the Swedish roster. Now, Deneray with the steal at center ice. Drops that back for Greentree. Pivots back. He's looking across to Perek. The pass knocked away. Picked back up by Deneray. Perek. Dynamic offensive defenseman. Long wrist shot goes wide. Gathered back up by Reshny. Feeds that back to Julian McKenzie. A long shot. Pad saved by Liv. And brought back out by Liam Danielson. Moves it back ahead. Loose in front. Great chance. And fired wide by Victor Johansson. Another good look for the Swedes in the early going as Perek gathers it back up. Out of the corner, chance for Berglund, turned away. That shot was blocked in front by Ethan McKenzie. Big hit there on Coots as Krantz unloaded on him. Krantz back with it. Moves through center ice. Great pace here in the first period. And slid back out by Sam O'Reilly. The pass goes in behind Vanacker. And Carell plays it back across for Salim Melenius. Look at Krantz. First time international for the Swedes. As that's tapped back by O'Reilly. Eklund moves that back in. An Islander first round pick in 2025. And the rink wide pass finds O'Reilly. O'Reilly centers it. And that shot flipped wide by Reed, the defenseman who had jumped up. O'Brien trying to work that loose. It bounces back down to the Swedish zone. As Gustafsson is back to pick it up, another returnee from last year.
If you're a forward on either team, you better be paying attention because the D are jumping both teams. You get over aggressive, they're getting past you, looking for the 4th man on a rush.
Aitchison sets things up. 19 goals in 27 games for Keishon Aitchison in the Ontario League as a defenseman this year. Verhoff looks ahead for Martin. The pass skipped away from him. Another big hit. This time by Hage on Gustafsson. Centering pass and a hard shot from the high slot. Taken there by Martin. Turned away by Herman Liv. No score here in the opening period. Pre-tournament action for the 2026 World Junior Hockey Championship.
Still scoreless here in Kitchener, but not for lack of chances. Zane Perek transition play, an area where Canada struggled last year. That's really nice. Ends up with Sam O'Reilly backdoor, but Liv makes a tremendous save, and if you mishandle the puck, you get caught in deep. That's Johansson, the defenseman for Sweden, in alone. And Carter George angles him into a missed shot. It's been quick plays off the rush on transition have been the best offensive sequences for both teams.
This is Hage, McKenna, and Martin back out there for Canada.
They're trying to get McKenna rolling off the top of the face-off circle.
Draw is scrambled, trying to poke that free. Martin after it. Now picked up by McKenna. Gets bumped there by Jack Berglund. His dad, Christian, was a draft pick of the New Jersey Devils once upon a time. There's Berglund back with it. Berglund, 6'4", 210-pounder. And watch there by McKenna, who takes a run at him.
Didn't like the hit in the corner he took.
Terrell, a long shot that rolls wider. McKenna back with it. Lead pass for Martin just out of his reach. By the way, the officials are from the Ontario Hockey League. They're calling the IHF rule book tonight, so it'll be IHF rules for all the pre-competition games. And a steal in front as McKenna tried to work that free for Luchenko.
A close call for Sweden as they turn one over. And Sweden, we've talked about so long their run of success in the round robin and lack thereof in the medal rounds. And see their last 5 years, they have a bronze, they have a silver, and some very disappointing finishes in tournaments where they look like they were the class of the tournament.
Just 4 medals the last 11 years for Sweden, 1 gold in the last 44.
And we talk about how that's not the responsibility or burden of these kids who are playing in this game, but they feel it and they carry it because it's hard to ignore the lack of gold medals for Sweden.
Their last gold was in 2012. These players would have been 5 and 6 years old. And here's the 3 returnees from last year. It is astonishing. In those 44 years, they finished second 11 times. Here's McKenzie. Back across to Parak. That centering pass from Luchenko's knocked away. Picked back up by Parak. Rear shot was blocked. Now Lindberg moves out ahead, but picked off at center ice by Greentree. He finds Denoyer, plays it back down to the Swedish zone as Liv is out to play it. William Hawkinson, eligible for the upcoming draft, plays that back for Alphonse Frey. And Frey fires it back down to the Canadian zone and skipped away from George. And McKenzie being harassed there, slides it back out. The undrafted Ethan McKenzie from the Edmonton Oil Kings of the Western Hockey League. And the puck was played with a high stick. And the face-off will come outside. No score here in the first period. 9:48 to go in Kitchener. Dale Hunter behind the Canadian bench, and here are the potential returnees from last year's team.
Good point. You have to still have to make the team, even though you played for them last year. But 2 goaltenders, both of whom were terrific last year and are also very good this year. I suppose Carter George has the inside track, but Jack Ivankovic, who's the backup in tonight's game, has had a really solid year in Michigan.
Top-ranked team in the NCAA. Lost his only start last year in that shootout defeat against Latvia. He stopped 7 of 8 shots in the shootout, but Canada went 0 for 8.
And that's why we caught up with Kyle Turris.
Yes.
Shootout advisor. This is new on the staff for Canada this time around.
That plays offside at the Canadian line. Turris, a gold medalist for Canada, the 08 World Junior Championship. Won by Canada, not in a shootout, but in overtime on a golden goal by Matt Halachuk.
See, Carter George put up great numbers last year in the tournament. Just not enough goal support, which they hope will not be an issue this time around.
George, an LA Kings second-round pick in 2024. 19-year-old from Thunder Bay, Ontario.
We thought he had a lot of poise last year. Now a year older, a year more experienced. What that will look like.
Moved in by Coots, who's one of 6 players on the roster who's played in the NHL this year. Coots got some games with the Vancouver Canucks after being picked 15th overall. That long shot knocked away by George. Flipped back around by Eklund. Back in the corner. for Anton Frundell, the Chicago first-round pick. And their GM, Cal Davidson, is here tonight to watch after Chicago played in Toronto last night. And behind the play, some pushing and shoving at the Swedish bench as Carter Bear got involved there. Moved back in the corner, and that's knocked back around by Justavara. A Finnish name for a Swedish player. Now played back down by Sam O'Reilly. O'Brien goes after it, still loose in the corner. Vanacker trying to pull that free. Eric Vanacker, also a Chicago first-round pick, 27th overall in the 2024 NHL draft.
Lots of company when you're a first-round pick with Chicago.
They've had 11 in the last 4 years. And Canada's got 21 first-round picks on the roster. Lead pass by William Hawkinson. And the puck knocked down by McKenna. Moving out with Verhoff. McKenna winds in, drops it back off. And the pass by Hage is knocked away and brought back the other way by Alphonse Frey. Winnipeg's second rounder, that long shot knocked away by George. Verhoff after it. Bouncing puck at the side of the goal, moves back at the point. That shot by Hawkinson looking for a tip in front, and now Verhoff back with it. Verhoff, the Fort Saskatchewan, Alberta native. He'll go early in the National Hockey League draft as well. A 6'4" right shot, smooth skating defenseman who's put up big offensive numbers. Got 4 goals this year as a 17-year-old freshman in North Dakota as a defenseman. And a long shot by George. And brought back out by Jackson Smith. Smith, rink wide, but the play's offside at the Swedish blue line.
It doesn't take that long for tempers to get a little bit hot in this rivalry kind of game, even though it's pre-tournament competition. Carter Bear loses his stick, says, I'll grab my stick. And a piece of any number of players I can run into on the way back to the bench. Although, one of the things that Canada's talked a lot about in their early training camp is discipline. Not taking penalties, smart with their sticks. I thought they didn't do well enough last year.
And in fact, they showed a video to the players earlier this week of penalties from last year's tournament.
Don't do this.
Victor Eklund moves it back down to the Canadian zone. One of the things we'll find out tonight is what Canada's goal song is going to be.
Well, we hope we find out.
Yes. Not so far. As Desnoyers kicked that ahead, and Sully Millennius plays it back around. Moves it back in. He was the Swedish Junior Defenseman of the Year before last. These teams did not face each other last year at the World Junior Championship. That long point shot trickles down, and George is able to hold that. 5:42 to go in the opening period. No score between Canada and Sweden here in Kitchener. Quick scan the QR promo on the screen to get Crave starting at $3.99 a month for your first 3 months and stream the latest blockbusters, Canadian Crave originals, and hit series all in one place. Only on Crave.
I know I'm getting you for Christmas now, Gord.
I'm getting the same thing I got you last year.
I loved it.
It was light.
Canada wants to probably connect their passing a little bit better. It's been a little bit choppy, which is to be understood. A little bit more crisp puck movement up the ice.
Cole rushing for the faceoff, gets a warning there. Also at North Dakota after playing the last 3 years with Victoria of the Western League. He's a Calgary first rounder. Salim Millennius slides back in, looks back in front. George gets the pad down. There's a good chance at the side of the goal for Yustavara. Now he loses it, and Coots trying to reach the loose puck. Coots just missed there in the corner by Linus Eriksson. Puck squeezed by McKenzie, but unpicked through 2 drafts. But has made a name for himself this year with Edmonton in the Western League.
Finally had a run of good health. Allowed him to play well.
Parak pulls the puck. Zane Parak puts it back along the boards, and Parak centers it. It was off a skate right down the live. Pedersen chops it off the boards and back down. A race for it now is hustling down as Liam Danielson, but Parak beat him to the puck.
He has been very comfortable, Parak, with the puck.
Aitchison slides it back in. Now it's back up by Viggo Bjork. The younger of the Bjork brothers is eligible for the upcoming draft. Plays for Djurgården in the Swedish Hockey League, newly promoted to the top league.
Everyone in Sweden celebrates a Stockholm team back in the top league.
Took a while as Lindbergh plays it back in. Now Hage. Rink wide pass finds Vanacker. Vanacker.
Got to slide
it back across, and that's picked off by Walter Lindbergh. And coming back is Verhoff to pick that off. Verhoff looks back to center ice, finds Martin. And Brady Martin winds in. Laid down to McKenna. Crisscrossing there with Hage. And Hage, and a poke check away, and a race for it now is hustling back is Reed. And he's got Salim Milenius all over him, the defenseman who had jumped up. Reed to Corrals. And that's knocked away. And play called. Icing against Canada with 3:16 to go here in the first.
Bit of a close call off a face-off here as McKenzie's trying to box out his man, lose the side of the puck. It's hard to do, to both check the player, but also be aware of the puck. McKenzie just spots it and skate stick, maybe a bit of Carter George as well, who had sealed the post. And Nathan McKenzie tells himself every day that he is worthy of an inclusion in this group.
Here's Frundell back with it. 10 goals in 25 games this year for Djurgården in the Swedish Hockey League. Not bad for an 18-year-old. In a league where scoring is at a premium.
Hard to come by at times.
Martin has it picked off by Frey. Now Reed plays it back around. Skipped by McKenna. And Frundell back to pick it up. Third overall pick in last year's draft was Frundell.
Sweden might be a little top heavy when Frundell, if he plays with Stenberg, their first line could be super talented.
And that plays offside at the Canadian line, but if Stenberg plays on Saturday, McKenna as well, and Verhoff, you'd have potentially the top 3 picks in the draft playing against each other in a pre-tournament game.
And I imagine that Stenberg will play because he's not playing tonight.
Right.
McKenna will play because he wants to get games in. He hasn't played in a few weeks. And Verhoff will play because he's trying to make the team. So likely that we do see all 3 in London on Saturday.
By the way, Michael Misa, the San Jose first-round pick, second overall in last year's draft, has joined Team Canada after a conditioning stint with San Jose of the American Hockey League. As that's moved ahead for Greentree. The Windsor Spitfires of the OHL, the LA first-rounder, plays that back and skipped by Ethan McKenzie. And Canada still in talks with San Jose about Sam Dickinson, the defenseman, who was a healthy scratch last night. Pick back up. Centering pass by Desnoyers. Greentree with a chance. And a backhand shot steered away by Liv. Desnoyers stumbles. And that long shot was blocked and moved out by Celine Millennius. Back down by Smith. The Calgary native plays it back around. Lead pass to Bear. Jackson Smith. There's some of that ahead. It's knocked away by Danielson. And that long shot taken by Viggo Bjork is knocked away by Carter George. And now icing called on Canada. Inside a minute to go in the first period.
The tight checking, not a lot of chances in 5-on-5 play in the offensive zone. Maybe Canada's better looking ones right here on the rebound. Greentree fights off his defender and gets win in on Liv's pads. Pretty good effort to get a second opportunity. One of the challenges for players in this tournament, patience. They're not used to playing games where they don't get a lot of chances. They don't have the puck a lot. And learning how to play in games like this is part of the process.
Face-off was won by Reshny. And Frey moves it back ahead to Lindbergh. Trying to jump in there was Loke Krantz. No chance back in front. Just skipped away from Krantz. Here's Krantz back with it. Plays that down to Viggo Bjork. And Bjork winds through the offensive zone. Pivots back. And that long shot was knocked down in front by Jake O'Brien. Bouncing puck inside the Swedish zone. It's moved ahead by Frey, but picked off at center ice. And now the extra move puts Canada offside as Jake O'Brien hit a half a second. And there's 12.3 seconds to go here in the period.
See the little play here, trying to go up and under for Sweden, and a backdoor and a good stick by Aitchison. Recognizing where the threat was and steering it aside with an active stick. He looks to play a big role in the back end for Canada.
Time winding down here in the period. Eklund chips it back down the Canadian zone, and icing call. 3.1 seconds to go here in the first.
A chance to work on face-off plays. Out comes the number one line with Hage and McKenna, and Dale Hunter can work on some situational specific stuff. See what they can draw up with under 5 seconds left on the clock. Again, Kevin McKenna, like him, skating off the boards, hopefully picking a puck off the pile, maybe looking for a one-time pass to the point.
Face-off though, won by the Swedes as Liv freezes that.
Only works if you win the face-off though. You can drop all the plays in the world. If you can't win a draw, not gonna work.
Canada's brought in Mike Eagles, former teammate of Dale Hunter, to work with the team on face-offs. He's going to try to one-time this with half a second left. And Canada and Sweden will go to the dressing room scoreless for the opening 20 minutes. It's the first of 3 pre-tournament games for the 2026 World Junior, our first intermission coming up with your host, James Duffy.
Gord, thank you. Kind of what you'd expect from two teams who are about to play a couple of games against each other, I suppose. Cautious, quiet first period. Jeff O'Neill will break it down for you next. And
up a ton of points and why he should be an important player for Canada in this tournament.
Yeah, scored his NHL debut against the Los Angeles Kings. Was cut last year after being a late invite to the Canadian camp. Former NHL Defenseman of the Year, OHL Defenseman of the Year. And there's McKenzie jumping up. And then laying a hit of Liam Danielson. McKenzie looks ahead to Brady Martin. And Martin evades that check by Felix Corral. Now through the middle, Corral. You know, McKenzie knocks him off the puck. Martin. Turn pass from Hage is knocked away, and here's McKenna. Gavin McKenna works back in. Sends a rink wide hard shot, score! Just like that, Brady Martin with a rocket. And the goal song is Courage by the Tragically Hip.
Good selection. And the opener, Brady Martin. If this one's onside or not, won't really matter. This is such a wide pass for a one-timer. It's a long way for Liv to go, but Martin's got to get his stick back onside. That's just in time. And how about this pass from Gavin McKenna? Plenty on it, right in the wheelhouse. And Brady Martin, the Nashville first rounder, 5th overall, opens the scoring in the pre-comp game. Really good shot.
Playing for Sault Ste. Marie in the Ontario League. 5 goals in 13 games here. The captain of the Greyhounds. And Canada's got the 1-0 lead. Move back down to the Swedish zone. He's trying to hunt that down. Here's Jet Luchenko. And George leaves it there for Bearhoff. To Greentree. Rink wide pass, chipped ahead by Aitchison. Another Islander first round pick. 17th overall in 2025. Johansson. The bump down there by Bear. And now Reed back on it. Cameron Reed plays it back around to Smith. And Jackson Smith lifts that off the glass, up and out.
Good start for Canada. First couple minutes, Brady Martin. You get a sense of the play as it works its way up the ice. If you can just find the puck to Gavin McKenna, this time it's on a turnover. Even on a 2-on-3 with a little time and space, he can make it happen. And here you get a sense of how far Liv had to go side to side to try to get over to make a save there. Just too much ground to travel for the Martin one-timer.
Herman Liv's father Stefan was tragically killed in the Yaroslavl plane crash in 2011. Gold medalist for the Swedes at the Olympics in 2006. Drafted by Detroit but did not play in the NHL. Another big hit by Bear. The clearing attempt knocked down, and now pivoting back to pick it up is Reed. Canada has 3 extra players in camp. The roster doesn't have to be declared until Christmas night, and you can still leave spots open if you choose, which has happened in recent years. If there's an injury question mark. 22 skaters and 3 goaltenders can be named, so if you name a full roster, you have 2 healthy scratches and a goaltender scratch for each game. Now a chance to the side of the goal. George gets the pad down as Liam Danielson was trying to poke that home.
Canada's sort of talked about having a open-ended decision-making time frame, whether they got to cut after this game, after Saturday's game, but likely before they go to Minnesota. And one guy we know is going to be on this team no matter what is Carter George. So he's got to fight off Reshny to track down that puck. Well, your job boxing out, protecting the goaltender. You just don't want any sticks in and around your netminder.
Jake O'Brien for the face-off against Berglund. O'Brien, a Seattle first-round pick. UHL Rookie of the Year 2 years ago. Moved ahead by Carls. And O'Brien passes across for Banneker. That pass goes wide. Another shot from a sharp angle by O'Brien, knocked away by Liv. Carls plays it back for Perret. Crisp pass across to Banneker. And move back out. Johansson, big hit by Carls as he knocks down Danielson. Perret. Up ahead to O'Brien. Gains center ice and sweeps that back down to the Swedish zone. And now at the line, O'Reilly comes in, but the play's offside. And we have a penalty here. I think it's too many men on Canada.
Both defensemen were about to change, and one elected not to as the puck got near the bench. And you see a little bit of confusion on the bench there, but as you see the puck get ringing around here, both defensemen are coming off as that Verhoff elects not to. Well, I got three defensemen out there all playing. You see 6 players, 3 defensemen in the line of the red line. An easy call for the officials to make. You can send anyone over to serve the penalty. It's going to be Banneker.
Canada was the most penalized team in the tournament last year, averaging about 22.5 minutes a game.
And in a tournament where scoring can be hard to come by,
right?
You put yourself in a spot to have to be perfect on the penalty kill that often. You're cutting into your margins.
So Sweden gets the game's first power play. Here's Frey with it. Lindberg back to Frey. Looks back across, but that pass for Frundell is knocked away.
He's a shooter. He will one-time it from anywhere on that opposite side. Kind of like a dry saddle up and down the ice. He likes to put the puck to the net.
Berglund back to Lindberg. Now Lindberg slides it across, and they try that backdoor pass. It just missed the intended target. Frundell. Here's Frundell to Lindberg. Now played back across. There's the one-time chance. This time teed up by Sweden's Anton Frundell.
And that's the one we're talking about. He likes to shoot it. He probably should have shot the first one. This is a really nice pass through. He elects to catch it and try to return the favor through to Eklund. And it didn't quite connect. And the second one, he elects to shoot it. First side, as you mentioned, Frundell. 10 goals this year already for Djurgården, so he can put the puck in the net.
Another face-off warning for Viggo Bjork. And the draw controlled by Canada. Then sent down the ice by Luchenko.
These are important moments. You think about the power play only, but for penalty killers trying to establish a role that will be responsible and trustworthy. Another penalty coming to Luchenko.
5-on-3 coming for Sweden.
Put it to the nets. You put it to the nets.
After Skeeter comes on, there's the sharp angle shot knocked away by George. And Sweden will have a 2-man advantage for 46 seconds.
In this talk, they need to be mindful of taking penalties. And this is a grab. Luchenko open arm, grabs onto Viggo Bjork, spins him. Whether you're short-handed or not, that's going to be a penalty. So test early for a 5-on-3 penalty kill. I'm sure Dale Hunter in their practices have had that too much time for live action 5-on-3s against.
Well, the one thing is, with the smaller group in training camp, Canada has had some time to install some systems.
They focus on systems right away, but 5-on-3 defense is one you don't want to have to use very often. So yes, Sam O'Reilly is player for London Knights out there, taking a face-off.
Wins that cleanly, away from Berglund. Bjork plays it back across for Frundell. Lindberg to Eklund. Back to Bjork, teed up, and that shot was blocked by Reed. The Kitchener Ranger gets a big cheer from the local crowd. Eklund playing pitch and cash. Frundell plays it across. Bjork shoots, scores! Viggo Bjork
That's a really good shot by Bjork, getting it upstairs. Sweden goes to work below the goal line. Here's the first attempt. Really good block by Reed, but by passing the puck back and forth, they draw the forwards in low. And that opens up a nice clean square seam for Frondell to get over to Bjork. And he's almost at the face-off dot by the time he shoots it because of the action below the goal line. Interesting setup by Sweden. 5-on-3 below the goal line. Quick out over, and a very good shot from Viggo Bjork. Tie the game.
Bjork plays for Djurgården in the Swedish Hockey League. 4 goals in 24 games this year. The highest scoring Swedish junior last year in their junior league.
He's eligible for the draft in 26. Sort of a consensus top 20 guy.
Yeah. I think our Craig Button has him ranked 22nd. And Sweden still on the power play. Carls.
Stay in.
Just. And here's Frey with it. Alphonse Frey. Winnipeg's second rounder. Plays that back for Victor Eklund. That's poke checked away and moved up by Aitchison. Try the other side. Berglund. As Carl's closed in on him. Frondell. Back for Eklund. Around to Berglund. Looks back to Lindberg rather. To Frey. Back for Lindberg. Slides that down to Eklund. 45 seconds to go on the power play. Lindberg at the side of the goal is Eklund. Lindberg shoots, and the point blank shot is stopped by George.
Good spot for Lindberg to shoot that one. George able to track it on the strong side. Look at this setup. The guy in front of the net's not even facing the play. Talk about just being a screen off. She's not even paying attention. Is Jack Berglund. He's just standing there, watch the puck go back and forth. And then it's just so tight to the net that Carter George can't get across, doesn't have time to get over on the Bjork shot that gets up to the top half of the net.
Frondell and Lindberg draw the assists. And a face-off won this time by Coots, but the puck was knocked down with a high stick, so the face-off will come outside.
Well, lesson learned early for Canada. Discipline and staying out of the penalty box is going to be a message that is continually driven home by the coaching staff, and until Hunter sees his team go down for a lengthy 5-on-3, allowing Sweden to tie the game.
Now along the boards, Nilsson drops it back for Bjork. Swing Millennius. Back down for Danielson. Now a centering pass, moves back across. A little back pass by Lucas Pettersson was broken up, and Parek's got it back. Looks ahead for Coots, and that's knocked ahead quickly by Celine Millennius. Sweden go 1 for 2 on that long power play with a couple of shots and tie the game. Nilsson swings it back across. It's dropped back for Celine Millennius, and now away comes Coots. And that pass for Luchenko was in behind him. And the play is called at the Swedish blue line. 1-1 the score here in Kitchener. Pre-competition action for the World Junior Hockey Championship.
We've dreamed of making this movie ever since we were kids. Action! We came here to make Anaconda. And now we're in it.
It's okay, I'm here! Oh my God! Oh my God! Oh my God!
Anaconda this Christmas.
The more I see it, the less comfortable I become.
That's not the idea.
I am not the man for a snake movie. Surprised to no one that I am not that kind of outdoors person.
I think I might take you an off-day in Minnesota.
Not a chance.
I think I'm going to take you just to see your reaction.
Not a chance. Again, I got to get back to the forecheck, get back to skating after that stretch of being in the box.
Czechs in the quarters last year, and the winning goal was scored by the Czechs on a power play with less than a minute to go in regulation. In comes Hayes. That shot rolls wide. McKenna back on it. McKenna played back around and gathered back up by Viggo Gustafsson. At center ice, here is Reed. Rink wide for Smith, who fires it back down to the Swedish zone. And a big hit there by Hage as he belted down Viggo Bjork. Move by Smith and back down to the Canadian zone as Reed goes back. Crisp pass ahead to McKenna. And McKenna winds it across the line. McKenna holds, drops it back for Reed. Pokes that back down for Martin. Canada changing, lead pass. Finds Eriksson, shoots short side. George might have got a piece of that. Victor Johansson plays it back in.
That's a too many on Sweden. They're way early on a defensive pairing change. Johansson was out there and Carell jumped as well. Pretty similar to the one that Canada picked up. So both teams work the kinks out here. 2D jump. Yep. The extra forward had gone. And now Canada gets their chance to go to work on the power play.
Zane Parekh almost knocked over the linesman getting on the ice for this power play.
Between him and Gavin McKenna, there'll be two guys wanting to quarterback it. And another thing that Canada's working on off the face-off play right here, if they can win it, have McKenna walk right around the top of the circle for a quick attack with Coots as an option. So a couple little set plays Canada's working on over the last few days.
Canada was 4 for 19 in the power play in last year's tournament.
Gotta start with the puck though.
Reshny with McKenna, Martin, Coots the forwards, and Parekh the defenseman. And this, more than anything, is the reason Parekh is here. Coots walks it in, shoots, and Liv got a piece of that to knock it up and out of play.
There it is. Exactly what they want to have happen. Get McKenna the puck, allow him to draw attention, and then get it to a shooter. Bit of a broken play, but still it's enough to isolate Pettersson. And the backhand sauce from McKenna has Coots wide open and might as well attack it. That one catches the top of Liv's stick. Had the goalie beat, but not the knob.
Coots in for the face-off on this side of the ice against Berglund. A scramble draw controlled by Canada. Reshny, a quick chance. Liv makes a stop on him. That's banged down the ice by Pettersson. And here is Parekh from Nobleton, Ontario, northwest of Toronto. Knocked down by Martin. And a chip back out, a race for it here as Eriksson moves in short-handed. Shoots. George makes a stop on that. Move back around, and now McKenna back with it. And away comes McKenna. Up ahead for Coots. Drops it off for Martin. Reshny races to it, seals the wall there, and comes up with the puck. Held at the line for the moment by Parekh, and now brought back out by Linus Eriksson. And that shot gloved by George. Off to hang on with 1:01 to go in the Canadian power play.
So Sweden gives up a good chance off a lost draw. So everyone's going to be super aggressive for Sweden stepping forward. And if you have a puck scored to the wrong side, you get a really good look. And it's Cole Reshny jumping on this loose puck that Coots creates for another attempt on Liv. Cole Reshny having a pretty good start to his college career. North Dakota.
18 points in 16 games after 3 years of Victoria of the Western League. First round pick of Calgary in the last NHL draft.
Having a hard time getting the puck drop in this game.
play again on Saturday in London, Ontario. Dale Hunter's home rink with the London Knights. He was talking about how unaccustomed he is to being the home team here in Kitchener.
Heated rivals.
Yes. Kitchener's GM is Mike McKenzie, son of our own Bob McKenzie, who is here tonight with his grandson. Page plays that back. Luchenko with it. Greentree drops that back. Smith to O'Brien. Works it back across. And the return pass from Page knocked away. Picked up by Greentree. Back around to O'Brien. And O'Brien battles for the puck. His stick came up and clips Celine Valenius in the face. And they're going to call this, I think, a high sticking call.
Super late call. And he clipped Celine Valenius in the face as he was falling. I think it's going to be Jake O'Brien, who's sort of getting submarine from the back, falling over, and he whacks him hard. And that's unfortunate, but you do have to be in control of your own stick, even when you're falling. O'Brien got him right across the cheek, so it'll be 15 seconds of 4-on-4, and then another power play for Sweden. Jake O'Brien, another one of the several Brantford squad who's having a great year.
46 points in 27 games. Number 1 in the OHL in assists. Number 2 in points. And one of a large number of Canadian players who has won a gold medal at the under-18 level, either the IHF or under-18 or the Hlinka Gretzky tournament.
Winning matters, and experience winning matters.
McKenzie pivots back in the corner. And now Sweden to the power play for minute 45. O'Reilly gains possession. Drops that down to Reed. And McKenzie fires it down the ice. Celine Valenius. Drops that back for Ustavara. Stymied at the line. And now moved back by Danielson. Celine Valenius moves that back across and gets crunched there by McKenzie. McKenzie happy to keep it there for a moment. Now the faceoff will come in the Canadian zone.
Canada would argue that Viggo Bjork sitting on the puck caused the whistle. The faceoff should come outside. Don't think they're going to win that argument, but I would be trying to make it. Everyone in Canada, every one of these players is the best player on their team.
Right.
They play 20 minutes as a forward and 26 as a defenseman, and on the first power play, and on the first penalty kill. And now they have to figure out how to be effective when you might get half that time and none of that quality and still be a contributing member to a winning team. It's an entirely different existence. You got to figure out quickly.
We were talking to Dale Hunter before this game about his biggest lesson or takeaway from the 2020 tournament. He said, you have to elevate. There's a different level from college and junior to the World Junior. And when you're used to playing so much, you've got to learn to elevate in the moments that you get. Frey with it. Plays it back across for Lindbergh. Shovels that down to Eklund. A center pass inside. And turned away by George.
Calm as can be. Taking it away.
Jack Berglund with a quick look back at the netminder on his way up the ice. And here is Lindbergh. That pass picked off and sent down the ice by Aitchison. And here is Frey with it. Alphonse Frey plays for Timrå in the Swedish Hockey League. Lindbergh drops it off to Berglund. For Lindbergh. He's poke checked there by Karls. Harrington was knocked down. Here's Frey back with it. Lindbergh. To Frey. Frondell's all teed up for the one-timer on the other side. Eklund gets back in front, tip wide by Frondell. Berglund spins in front of Coots as the teams are back to 5-on-5. Frey playing back, and the that shot from down is blocked by Aitchison, and a chance now for the loose puck to Bear. Bear looks back in front, and Bergman coming back took that pass away. As Canada's Jake O'Brien was all alone in front. In comes Frundell. Chips that by Smith. 7.5 to go here in the second period. A 1-1 tie. Smith racing to it. He's poke checked. And McKenna back to pick it up. And away comes Gavin McKenna. Up ahead to Martin. Back for McKenna. The pass too far for him to reach. And brought back out by Gastrin. And that hard shot taken by Linus Eriksson is stopped by Carter George. 1-1 tie here in the second period in Kitchener, Ontario. NFL Thursday night action comes your way tomorrow as the Rams take on the Seahawks. 8:15 Eastern Time, 5:15 Pacific on TSN and CTV.
And Matt Stafford can still throw it. One of the prettiest releases. And a full house here. And a good crowd in Kitchener for this pre-tournament game. Sold out in short order in this passionate junior market. I played this rink as it was when I was about 10 years old, Gord.
I've called a bunch of games here over the years. The 1997 Women's Worlds were here.
The Oktoberfest tournaments.
for what? For 8-year-olds?
For whatever, U10, yeah, exactly.
So I'm guessing beer steins weren't the prize.
Well, for the parents it were.
Coots trying to knock that free. A long shot taken by Gustafson, kicked away by George. Victor Johansson pivots back and finds Milton Gastrin. Picked back out by Bear. Carter Bear from West St. Paul, Manitoba. Looks ahead and finds Coots. In comes Coots, a shot lived to save. Coots knocked down the rebound. Banks that back to Aitchison. Aitchison looks back down for the tip by Reshny, and that just missed. Viggo Bjork with the tying goal for Sweden on a 5-on-3. Flips that ahead. It's knocked down by Hage and played back down to the Swedish zone, but the puck made contact with the Canadian bench and play is called. Aitchison's into it in front of the Swedish bench.
So I'm watching the Canadian team play in their own end, Gord, and of course you're trying to figure out your partners or your lines. You're trying to figure out the system play, and see Aitchison doing a lot of pointing and talking, trying to sort out where everyone's going. Canada looks like they're playing largely a man-on-man in the defensive zone. And you can see him talking right there when they switch back, when the defenseman rolls over, whatever's happening, that kind of communication is necessary, especially early when you're trying to figure it out together.
Move back down to the Swedish zone. Finis Orqvist goes back. Gathered back up by Smith, and a hard shot taken there by Martin is knocked away by Liv.
That blocker side has been tested in the second period by Canada.
Inside 6 to go here in the second period. Bjork plays that back. That's Viggo Bjork. Moved back in by Kratz. Back the other way. Hage sends it down to the Swedish zone. And Corral is back for it, being shouted there by McKenna. Chopped down at center ice by Martin. And the puck deflects into the Canadian bench. 5:32 to go here in the second period. 1-1, Sweden and Canada tied in Kitchener.
One goal so far tonight for Canada, and goal scoring not usually an issue, was the last couple of years, especially last year. The leading scorer by tournament last year, just 3 points for your Canadian scoring leaders, Ethan Cowan and Braden Yeager. It's not going to get it done. You just need more offense from your top guys, whoever those top guys end up being, to be competitive in this tournament. They were spoiled for a couple years there with Bedard and McTavish and what they were doing.
U.S. comes in having won the last 2 gold medals. Canada and the U.S. have split the last 6 between them. Denoyer moves it back in front, shoveled back in front. Greentree, a point-blank chance, turned away by Liv. Lutchenko with a long shot. Looking for the stick of green tree, and now Luchenko pokes that back at the point. McKenzie, a long drive, was blocked in front and moved out by Hawkinson. Frondell. Rink wide pass for Eklund. He tangles there with McKenzie. McKenzie trying to work that free. Puck loose in the corner. Kick free by McKenzie. Handles it back up and on his backhand. Off the stanchion, back into the Swedish bench.
Canada trying to grind away, create some chances with physical play of the forecheck. In this line, Luchenko, Desnoyers, and Greentree went to work. First little chance here by Greentree in front. Lift down and able to close it up. Greentree might have had a little bit more time and space than he thought to maybe try a different option. Lots of coaching going on.
Assistant coach Misha Donskoy on the Canadian bench. Stanley Cup winner on the staff for the Vegas Golden Knights a couple years ago. Now back at the point, that shot by Orkvist is blocked by Van Acker. Loose at center ice. Here's Berglund with it. Chips it back in deep as Smith goes back and pokes that around for Karls. Lead pass to O'Reilly. That's knocked down by Viggo Gustafsson. Up for Berglund, moving in. He got spun around there by Karls and then taken down. The Swedes are hollering for a penalty. Berglund plays that back. Orkvist takes the return pass. Moves it back to Berglund. And Smith knocked that away. A chance now for O'Reilly. Looks ahead. And he finds Van Acker. Throws it back and walking right in. Great chance in tight. And O'Brien turned away a rebound. And that's knocked away as well. Good chance for Van Acker there. And now O'Brien lobs that towards the goal, and Liv will hang on to that.
Couple looks for Canada. A good defensive play happen. The zone, O'Reilly sauces it over to Van Acker. Gets it back to O'Brien. I think O'Brien maybe could have walked all the way across in front of Liv. It was after, I don't know. That one's okay. The second grab here by Karls probably a little bit fortunate not to pick up a penalty. Reaching with the hands, always a bit dangerous when the guy has an angle on you.
Kicked ahead.
It's a Yardsdale stick, glove.
You name it. Reshny tried to wind in. That's knocked away. Now here's Coots with it. Rink wide, he goes for Verhoff. And Keaton Verhoff brings that around. Waiting for it is Bear. Carter Bear plays that back to Aitchison. Across to Verhoff. Verhoff centering pass knocked away and brought back by Gastrin. For Linus Eriksson, the Florida second rounder. And the lead pass out of the reach of Krantz. Icing waved off as Verhoff goes back and takes a hard bump there from Krantz. Coots banks it back around to Verhoff. The 17-year-old freshman in North Dakota banks it off the glass, but the puck goes up and out of play.
You can tell by the cage of all the players who are underaged. And we know this is a 19-year-old tournament. It's very rare that 17-year-olds play, let alone on defense. You see two of them side by each, Verhoff and Karls. It's the maturity required to play that position at this high-stakes, high-pressure tournament. It's more challenging for a defenseman than a forward.
McKenna. Which is why only a dozen underage defensemen ever played for Canada in the World Junior Championship. Here's McKenna. Sweeps it back around to Parak. Parak back to Martin. Now McKenzie has shot the ramps off the stick of Frey and up and out of play.
Pushing and shoving. I think both teams are happy to be playing each other. Where Canada gets an organized, defensive, physical team, and Sweden gets a straight line,
small ice. Sweden, one of the last countries in the world that is still using the full international ice surface. Finland has gone to the hybrid surface. Most other European countries have as well, but the Swedes are still 200 by 100.
Which does not promote more offense. In fact, it has the opposite effect, the drag on offense.
In comes Perek, blocks it and fires at the flex wide. Here's McKenna back with it. And McKenna bottled up by two Swedes. Frundell moved that ahead for Eklund. Knocked down by Perek. Eklund feeds it across. That hard drive was blocked by McKenzie. Page back with it. Now loose along the boards. McKenzie and Frundell battle. Minute and a half to go here in the second. Gustafsson across the top, backhands that towards the goal. Nilsson back to Johansson, and McKenna strips him of the puck. McKenna looks ahead for Perek, leading the rush for Canada. Zane Perek puts it off the corner boards. And brought back out by Frundell. He's got Eriksson with him. And that's stripped away by Reed. Final minute now, the second period. McKenna trying to work that free. And here's Gustafsson with it. Gustafsson off the skate of Pettersson, gets a second chance and banks it back down to the Canadian zone as Jackson Smith goes back. Greentree chips that ahead. And Viggo Gustafsson back to play it. Jackson Smith back for Cameron Reed. 30 seconds to go in the period. And Berglund looks ahead for Pettersson. Drops it up to Eriksson, a long shot that's gloved by George. And he'll hang on.
So we talked about Zane Perek's unique ability to get off the boards to the middle of the ice. And he can be so slippery when he's under duress. And here he is, walks the middle, all kinds of time and space. He looks like he's just playing casual summer hockey out there. He's got so much poise with the puck. He walked himself right into a good spot on the ice. He's always said, full of confidence in his own skills. Really believes that he can do things that others can't.
Sam O'Reilly for the face-off. Celine Milenius brings that back around, waiting for it. There's Vanacker, the pass in behind Jake O'Brien. The bouncing puck to O'Brien as time winds down here in the period. And Sweden and Canada exchange goals here in the second. It's a 1-1 tie. Heading for the third, as we say to our second intermission, and your host, James Duffy.
Gord, thank you. Jeff O'Neill is standing by on the things that went right for Canada, as in Brady Martin's goal, and the things that went wrong, that 5-on-3 goal against. Plus, Craig Button will join us to assess Canada's decision to bring a smaller roster to camp this year. All that ahead in our second intermission. As we were after one, we are even after two, this time at ones on Brady Martin's goal for Canada. And Brady Martin standing by with Mark Masters.
Brady, what do you like about playing with Gavin McKenna?
It's unbelievable. I mean, he's a special player, and he's going to go high in the draft this year, so it's a privilege, and I'm taking it all in.
What do you see on the goal?
Yeah, I saw him come over the blue line, and I know
on more than just one so far in this game.
Canada will open on Boxing Day against the Czechs. The Swedes will take on Slovakia. Sweden will play the United States on New Year's Eve in the big rink in St. Paul. Canada will take on Finland. Canada will play its games at Mariucci Arena, where the University of Minnesota plays. near Minneapolis. That shot by Celine Wallenius floats wide of the goal as McKenna kicks that free. The puck goes into the Canadian bench, and so the Canadians will once again play a World Junior Championship on U.S. soil, which has been kind to them. The last time was in Buffalo in 2018. That's the last time Canada and Sweden met in the medal round. They played in the gold medal game that year. The last preliminary round meeting was in 2024 in Gothenburg. Sweden shut Canada out 2-0.
Pretty good vibes. There should be some Canadian fans coming down to Minnesota as the tournament rolls along.
It's a lot to ask to have one community host the tournament. It's a lot of tickets to sell in two venues. As Luchenko works in. Luchenko winds back in, plays that in deep. That'll be the 50th World Junior Championship. The 51st will be in Edmonton and Red Deer. And nearly 20,000 people have signed up already for the priority draw for that event.
They get a tournament with fans in them after a couple of years where it was not quite that.
2021 was in the bubble. 2022 was truncated and played in the summer in front of limited crowds. Benoye plays that back down to the Swedish zone. Right now, tickets are on sale to season ticket holders of the Edmonton Oilers and the Red Deer Rebels of the Western League. And the following year will be in Finland. Tampere and Turku will be the host cities. And if you're really planning further ahead, Quebec City after that.
Very nice. Très bien.
Eklund works that free for Hawkinson. And Frondell plays it back down to the Canadian zone. Verhoff to the big hit behind the play.
He has taken a few in today's game.
He was knocked down by Eklund, and Verhoff goes right back after Eklund. And Verhoff's got a bee in his bonnet. But appears to be all right. We have seen over the years players get hurt in pre-tournament games. Dana Terrell for Canada prior to the 09 tournament was knocked out. In the same pre-tournament, Victor Hedman got hurt for the Swedes, hurt his shoulder, and basically played that entire tournament with one arm.
Verhoff getting checked in by his teammates head of the bench. You go back there, I think you have a little bit more time, but that is a solid check right through the body of Eklund. Nothing illegal about it, just painful. You gotta remember, these guys you're playing against are also big, also fast, also physical. Verhoff playing in college, but used to going up against guys 5-6 years older than him.
And again, the rarest of all things, a 17-year-old freshman in college, he and McKenna both. Brezhnev slides that ahead. Canada and Sweden will play again in London on Saturday night. And the teams will then share a flight down to Minnesota together.
Let's see what happens on Saturday night, see what that flight might be like. 2 games in short order for teenagers playing for their country. Could be a quiet flight.
That'll be on Monday. Puck got knocked into the Swedish bench and play is called.
Verhoff, one of the draft eligible players in this game. There's quite a few now. Some aren't playing. Stenberg for sure, but he gets an A. And along with Gavin McKenna, of course. Stenberg we probably will see on Saturday night.
We should see him on Saturday. And so again, if McKenna and Verhoff play for Canada and Stenberg plays for the Swedes, you're looking at potentially the top 3 picks of the draft. Ty Lawrence, another Canadian, is in the mix for that. Not in the Canadian camp this year. He's draft eligible this coming season. And it's easy to forget, Mike, you know, we've We've seen how good Connor Bedard was as an underage. We saw Celebrini
Totally spoiled and
right.
changed a perception of what should be normal.
Because it is rare.
Just making the team
right.
as an underage player is an accomplishment. But because of what Bedard has done and what Celebrini did, you expect these young players to not just make it, but Gavin McKenna's supposed to dominate now. He got 1 point on the only goal Canada scored. But with all the points he piled up in the WHL, you expect him to do more of the same here.
1 goal his last 8 games in college with Penn State. Last played on November 22nd. So 3 weeks ago.
So he's healthy, but he'd be rusty. He'd be spending 3 weeks working out and hitting the gym and everything else, but no game action.
Lead pass for Carls, jumping in, gets a step, shoots for Sharpay. The lift made the stop. Lost track of the rebound for a moment. And that was centered by O'Brien, but knocked away by Berglund. And Berglund winds it across the Canadian line, goes coast to coast. George pokes that away at the last moment. Now back in front, Carl's back with it. Not sure end-to-end rushes are the calling card of Jack Berglund, but he wasn't bad there.
He's been noticeable in this game, though, with his size and his reach around the net. The Flyers' second rounder from last summer.
Carson Carls up for Verhoff. Lead pass finds Greentree. In a lone shoots, lifted that high. And the 2 draft eligibles, Verhoff and Carls on defense for Canada. Set that up. Now back is Aitchison. Fresh off the bench, Aitchison. Trying to work that free in the corner. Tangles there with Viggo Bjork. Tap back to Verhoff. Up for Greentree. Move back in by Luchenko. And big hit there by Desnoyers. He knocked down Gustafsson. Victor Johansson. Up for Eklund, winding in. George out to play it. Moves it back around to McKenna. Kicked ahead by Martin. Now brought back by McKenna. In across the line comes Gavin McKenna. Trying to pull that back around. But Felix Carrell stayed with him. And Frondell taps that back for Celine Melenius. Smith. Lead pass for Hage. He finds McKenna with that pass broken up by Nilsson. And brought back up the ice by Wilson Bjork. And he gets slammed in the corner. And icing called against the Canadians.
He entered the third period tied at 1. There's been some chances both ways. Carl showing some good speed and activity from the back end on that pivot. And Jack Berglund dancing, almost gets there with his long reach a couple times for Carter George, and one more for Greentree. He's going against the grain up to the top glove, but just sailed it, showing a good dash of speed as well.
Hard shot there by Orquist. Is gloved by George.
For the goaltenders for Canada, it's going to be an interesting battle because George has been exceptional last year.
Right.
So good for Canada in years past. There's 3 pre-tournament games, but there's 3 capable goaltenders.
Right. So Joshua Ravensburger, who is not dressed for Canada, Ravensburger has the #2 save percentage in the Western League. I mean, he's been terrific. Plays for Prince George.
You wonder, did he get a 3rd game?
Well, Dale Hunter wasn't willing to commit beyond today. We think Ivan Kovac will get the call in London on Saturday.
You might get 1 game only to put your best skate forward.
In comes Bear. Drops up the high slot for Coots. He's knocked down and Liv swept that away. Back the other way. It's squeeze. Tavara. Parak was knocked off the puck. Brought back in by Lucas Pettersson. Penalty coming out of Canada with a high stick. And they'll check in on Pettersson to see the damage. the Swedes are going to the power play in a 1-1 tie here in the third. Just around the corner, the World Junior Opens on Boxing Day without Bob McKenzie for the first time in a very long time. Bobby's here. Hey, Bob. Good to see you, pal. His son Mike is the GM of the Kitchener Rangers here. He's got his grandson Gunnar here tonight.
And he looks very much at home in a junior rink, doesn't he?
He spent a lot of time in them. Started as a beat reporter in the Sault Ste. Marie Greyhounds.
And so Sweden, who has their only goal on a 5-on-3 power play, goes to work for 2 minutes on the high stick to McKenzie. Just a wayward one on a check.
Face off is one back to Frey, who quarterbacks the power play for the Swedes. Frey feeds it back across for Lindberg. Now Lindberg walks in, slides that back down to Eklund. Berglund's parked in front. Eklund feeds it back across, and a hard shot by Frundell goes high and bounces back down the ice.
The penalty kill for Canada was really shading over to Frundell. O'Reilly taking him away, but Sweden still found the shooter's stick.
Frey drops that back for Lindberg. In comes Eklund with a step, walks it and shoots, whistled that wide. And back at the point, Lindberg kept it alive. Aitchison reaching for that. Well, that shot by Berglund rattles high. Lindberg knocks it down. Frundell. That pass is picked off by Coots. He'll rest that back down, and Canada will change inside a minute to go in the Swedish power play. There you go. Brook with a chance there, but Bjork turned away at the line, and now there's Danielson with it. Back across to Celine Wallenius. Drop back to Nilsson. That pass broken up and sent back down the ice by Sam O'Reilly. Celine Wallenius swings that back to Nilsson. Rink wide to Bjork. Viggo Bjork drops that back, takes the return pass. 15 seconds to go on the power play. Danielson. Celine Wallenius. Now the centering pass misses Nilsson. Coots gets a stick on that. Celine Wallenius. Plays it back in for Viggo Bjork. That goes off the side of the goal. As the teams are back to 5-on-5. No shots for the Swedes in that power play. Lifted back out by Reed. And up to center ice. Viggo Gustafsson plays it back in. George got a piece of that. Now Gustafsson back with it. Long shot was blocked in front by Martin. He's from nearby Elmira, Ontario. And now McKenna breaks it out with Hage. In comes Hage. Nifty move from McKenna. Sends it back in front. They score! Martin again. What a play. And Canada leads 2-1. And the big line scores a beauty.
Martin with his second. He showed the big shot, then he showed the tight hands. As McKenna drives the middle of the ice, he wants to get the space in the middle. Give and go with Hage, take the hit, slide it in, and then to get it across on your backhand by McKenna with enough juice on it to give Martin time to go backhand, hard pull, and finish right upstairs. That is good in tight play by Brady Martin for his second of the game.
Another assist for McKenna.
If you give McKenna any kind of space through the neutral zone, he's going to make a good play. Brady Martin cashes in for the second time.
You mentioned from just around the corner in Elmira, Ontario. Lots of friends and family here tonight.
You know, he's a guy that, yes, he's a super high pick, 5th overall. He still has to make this team.
Right. I mean, that's
the reality. Largely actually the players that are not playing tonight are going to be on the team.
Right, so that's TJ Ginla,
Michael Misa,
Porter Martone.
and so there's 3 forwards that are going to make it. Ben Danford as well. And from his own end here, I keep looking at McKenna going, drive it wide or drive it up the middle, because it forces the defender in a tough spot. Ustavada, he can't quite decide what he wants to do, and that leads to odd numbers and a nice tuck from Brady Martin. They want a little more finish. That's the kind of finish they're looking for.
Here they come again. Martin knocked down his man. They're going to call a penalty there on Martin for chopping down Felix Orkvist, and Sweden's going back to the power play. Orkvist goes back at Martin.
Brady Martin obviously excited after his last goal. It's not a hard cross check. The shove on the top of the pants, though, as much as the shove in the back, it's the downward shove on the pants that can knock you off stride, and the fact that it led to very clear possession leads the officials to want to call that one. And discipline, stick play, offensive zone penalties, all points of emphasis for Canada.
Swedes are 1 for 4 in the power play, scored in a 5-on-3. Vigo Bjork on the face-off, controlled by Canada. Reed plays it around and wristed down the ice by Sam O'Reilly.
So at this point, Sweden understands Canada's cheating on Frondell, so maybe look for them to attack the other side when Frondell's group gets out there.
Nilsson with it. Now Nilsson backhands that back around. Danielson down to Nilsson. Here's Bjork. Back around to Pettersson. To Danielson. Celine Milenius. Back around to Bjork, and Celine Milenius can't hold the line. Danielson. Up end for Bjork, and that's knocked away neatly by Cameron Reed, the captain of the Kitchener Rangers. Celine Milenius slices in, but 4 Canadians converged on him. Now picked back out. Pettersson sends that back door. That's knocked away by Luchenko. And Jet Luchenko gathers it back up, chips that back in, and Luchenko back after it short-handed. In the corner with Luchenko, who began the year with the Philadelphia Flyers, and then got traded in the OHL when he came back. Good penalty kill shift there. Makes his way off the ice. 30 seconds to go in the Swedish power play. And the top unit out there now is brought in by Lindberg. And again, Ivar Stenberg, the highly touted Swedish prospect, not dressed for the game tonight, will likely play Saturday in London. Frey, long shot, hit a leg in front. Lindberg swings it back across for Frondell. That pass broken up and sent down the ice by Coots. No shots for the Swedes in that power play. Remains a 2-1 lead for Canada. And now winding in
At some point,
Frondell.
they're going to call an interference. Yeah, like 7 times in the power play, the Swedes were setting a pick at the blue line. Finally got called. Canada to the power play.
And Brady Martin's got Canada ahead 2-1.
Canada fresh off the penalty goes to the power play as the pick at the blue line from Eklund finally was called. The entire power play, the same sort of subtle pick had happened 3 or 4 times. Not called. Finally, it is Canada to the power play.
Canada 0 for 1 with 2 shots on its first.
This is a moment. You can win the game with a power play goal here.
Reshny for the face-off. McKenna, Martin, and Coots and the other forwards. It's Perek, the quarterback on the back end. In a packed arena here in Kitchener, this great old barn, home of the Kitchener Rangers. Great place to watch a hockey game, to broadcast one.
This is one of those ones where You want to change the amenities, I suppose, for the players, update the dressing rooms and all
which
that.
they've done, yeah.
But you don't want to change the character of the rink. So it makes it so great.
Right.
Great steep seats, one section only.
Every one of those seats is full here tonight. McKenna swings it back across the coach with a shot. Pad save, rebound, and Reshny had that blocked in front. Here's Perek back with it. Great look for Canada there. And Perek spins back. Takes the return pass from Coots. Swings it down to Reshny. Back for Coots. Perek for McKenna. And McKenna walks in, fires, but knocks that away. Martin back to McKenna for Perek. In for Coots. Swings it back to Perek. And in comes Coots with it. Shoots. Liz makes a stop on that. And move back down to the Canadian zone as Perek goes back for it. Quick lead pass for Martin. Bumped off the puck by Hutchinson. Minute to go in the Canadian power play. Coots wins it along the boards. Back to Perek and across to McKenna. McKenna pivots away and crisscrosses with Perek. Long wrist shot floats high. Gathered back up by Martin. Pass back to Perek. Held to the line by McKenna. Now stolen away and brought back by Ustavara. Ustavara shoots, gloved down by George, but he held long enough to get a face-off. He was trying to play it up the ice. And the face-off will be in the Canadian zone.
You like the quick attack mentality of Canada putting pucks down on the net. It looked like Reshny had an empty net. And Orkvist gets it off his glove. Look at Orkvist shaking out his left hand after blocking what was an empty netter for Reshny.
Jet Luchenko in for the face-off. The first round pick of the Flyers 2 years ago, 13th overall. The youngest player ever to play for the Flyers. And now brought in by Smith. Played back in the hard shot by Hage. Turned away by Liv. Greentree walks it and shoots. That goes off a skate and wide. Luchenko. Feeds that back for Hage. Hage walks in. That pass too far for Luchenko to reach. And now Smith plays it back around. Played back down to the Canadian zone, and the teams are back to even strength. So icing called against the Swedes. 6:09 to go in the third.
Canada not able to extend their lead on the power play. That will be an important part of this tournament. And so much of it's going to run through Gavin McKenna, Zane Perek, and Michael Misa when he's put back in the lineup, which will likely be Saturday, but just to see how he works into the power play as well. Prolific scorer last year. And playing in the NHL as a teenager for San Jose. Sometimes the problem is just one puck to go around. And a lot of guys like having it on their stick.
Well, and you talked about it. Everybody on this team is a highly touted, highly productive player, but you're going to be asked to play different roles sometimes.
But I think Michael Misa on this team is going to be asked to play the #1 center, power play guy, point producer. So sort of the same role he would play when he was playing in the OHL.
It can be difficult for players to come from the NHL to this tournament. If you dominate, you're supposed to. If you don't, suddenly doubt starts to creep in. The record is mixed at best. Lead pass to Danielson. Busting in with Pettersson. Pettersson shoots and George gets a piece of that. Bouncing puck in front, picked up by O'Reilly. And O'Brien moves in, but he's stripped of the puck. And moved the other way by Johansson. There's Berglund, a shot at the end of the glove of George. Celine Wallenius plays it back around inside 5 to go here in the third period. Long point shot goes just wide from Corral. Plays for Barrie in the OHL. 19 goals in 27 games as a defenseman. Plays the flank on the power play in Barrie.
And he might not get power play time on this team.
Right. Might be out to kill penalties, which he's been doing tonight. And that's
straight out.
Up and out. And the officials say it got tipped. 4:08 to go here in the third period. Canada with a 2-1 lead.
We should not be surprised that this game has been physical on both sides. Both teams, lots of energy. Happy to be playing against another team. A real tournament right on the horizon. Everyone trying to establish their spot in their lineups and listen to the coach's instructions to be physical. Largely pretty clean. No boardings or elbows, but lots of finish checks on both sides.
And Magnus Havila telling us before this game, the Swedish head coach, that he thinks this two-game series against Canada will be good for his team.
You get a taste of what a hard game feels like.
Well, if there's been a criticism of the Swedes, fairly or not, it's that they, when crunch time has come, they've not been...
They wilted a little bit.
They've not been battle-tested, right? They've rolled through the preliminary round a lot.
Part of their challenge is they've been so good in the preliminary round.
Right.
They play games that are not close, and then they get in a tight one, and they haven't always reacted well to those situations.
These face-offs.
Crowd is getting rowdy with the linesman.
Now pick free, a chance in front, just missed by Hage. The pass from McKenna misfired. Now brought back by Hawkinson. Out to center ice. This is Krantz. In on Perek, he moves around him. Poked away by McKenzie. 3:45 to go in the third period. Canada 2-1 lead. Two great hockey countries who have not met each other much lately at the World Junior Championship. McKenzie plays out ahead and poked back down by Hage, who was a notable omission from the training camp invite roster last year. McKenna works it free in the corner. Pivots back. Oh, what a move by McKenna.
See ya.
Is that back for Martin? Might need an ankle x-ray there in a minute. As Martin centers it, and Hage just missed on that. Smith back down for Hage. Wraparound tries, knocked off his stick. And Lindbergh has it back out and down to the Canadian zone. In comes Martin. Lays it back around. We'll keep an eye on Liv in the Swedish goal. As Luchenko is back out there and poked that free. Orkvist. Back for Frundell. Greentree was knocked down to the Canadian line. And Liv remains in the Swedish goal for now. Picked up by Reed. Nifty play ahead for Luchenko. And Luchenko goes rink wide, but Greentree had to wait for that pass. And now sweeps it back down to the Swedish zone. Celine Wallenius plays that back for Pettersson. Aitchison for Verhoff. And now back to Aitchison. Inside, 2 to go here in the third period, and Liv is looking to the bench for instructions. Celine Wallenius gains center ice and across the line and rolls back down to Aitchison. He finds Verhoff. Verhoff turns it over. Chest up for Pettersson with a shot. George the save. Loose puck in front, knocked down. Bjork with it. Celine Wallenius with another chance. Liv to the bench, and now Krantz comes on as the extra skater for Sweden. Minute and a half to go in the third period. 6-on-5 for the Swedes. Celine Wallenius down to Viggo Bjork. And Celine Wallenius for Viggo Bjork, who has the Swedish goal on a 5-on-3. Celine Wallenius with a shot, goes off the skate of Coots. And Celine Wallenius is able to hold the line for the Swedes. Back across for Gustafsson. Celine Wallenius for Bjork. Played back across, and a hard shot taken there by Pettersson. Turned away by George. change here as Johansson comes off the bench and takes that pass. Drops it back to Gustafsson for Bjork. That centering pass just missed. Johansson. 45 to go here in the third period. Pettersson walks it and shoots. George saves. Bouncing puck, and Carter George has it.
Well, Sweden got what they wanted. A tired group of defenders. The goalie out. Plenty of possession. Fairhoff turns this one over, and a couple of good looks. Carter George fights this one off, and the rebound as well, as Big Berglund was around the front of the net again. And you turn it over, then you pay the price right in the cage. Thank goodness you're 17. As Fairhoff takes it right in the face, and one more rebound around the front of the net, which George finally secures for a whistle. Lands on top of Berglund's back. And allows Sweden to take a timeout. Drop their strategy while Canada also gets to rest. And again, here's a game situation for both teams. Sweden get to practice 6-on-5.
Right.
Canada, who do you want out there protecting the lead in the last 30 seconds of a game? Who's your best face-off guy? How is it going to work?
These two teams will face each other again in London, Ontario at 7 o'clock Eastern, 4 Pacific on Saturday night. And then Canada will close out the round or the pre-comp against Denmark in Mankato, Minnesota on December 23rd.
Yeah, it looks like Canada's got 3 centermen out there.
So Rashid, Hage,
I think O'Reilly as well.
Yeah. And the D,
Perek and Aitchison.
right, so that gives you a little
glimmer, a little insight into what their coaching staff thinks.
Rashid giving some last-minute instructions. And a draw kick back by Bjork. The Swedes maintain possession. Long shot by Frey. That deflected just wide, and George didn't see it. He was screened. In behind the goal is Eklund. For Frondell. Back to Frey. Frondell tees it up and shoots it, blocked by Perek. And now with time, Rashid lifts it back to center ice. Empty net for Canada. In comes Hage. Just missed wide. Now Perek got it. Perek shoots. He missed wide. And O'Reilly rather just plays it in deep. Time winding down here in the third period. Eklund jumps it across the line. Eklund in the high slot, plays it back to Frey with a shot that goes wide, and Canada will hang on to win it by a final score of 2-1 against Sweden in front of a capacity crowd here in Kitchener. Final shots 24-20 in favor of Canada as Brady Martin scores both of Canada's goals.
Probably exactly the kind of game both coaches were looking for. Physical, tight checking, some tension, special teams on both sides of the puck. And you know, that first line with McKenna, Hage, and Martin, they score both. If your job is to score goals and you get 2, you're doing your job. And maybe not surprisingly, Carter George, so calm and under control in net for Canada, putting his best game forward to say that I want to be the starter on Boxing Day when we get going for real.
And now we'll get the Canadian national anthem.